What are the most important things for parents with children with Down syndrome to be aware of?
First and foremost, it's most important to understand the medical impact of the extra 21st chromosome on development. I think a lot of times we mistake things in this population as other things because we don't understand, this child is acting out. They have a behavior issue, but we haven't looked into the gut. We haven't checked out on reflux. We haven't, all of that. Another example, we think that there's something neurologically happening, or the child is just exceptionally weak because they can't climb stairs, sufficiently, but perhaps they have depth perception issues because of their vision. So, and the whole, there's just so many different pieces like this that have to do with trisomy 21 that impact the body. So I think sometimes, if parents aren't educated on that, they're flying blind a little bit as far as, and even as the individual ages, I mean, these different pieces come into play that can really impact development and can really, impact your journey.
You get this diagnosis usually. More and more families are getting it prenatally, and it's usually with the first words of "I'm sorry," and we are committed to changing that. And I think there's a lot of factors that shape every human. And a Down syndrome is a diagnosis that describes some part of an individual with Down syndrome, and that can be impactful. And for some, it's more than others. But it isn't the essence of a person, what a person is. It's not. The diagnosis isn't the heart or the soul or the ability to be resilient or have courage. It's not the beauty. It's not the talents. It's not the humor. It's not the kindness. And that is what draws us to one another with people. And individuals with Down syndrome have all of what I just said in abundance. And those gifts are really valuable for them to succeed in the world. But it's really valuable, and you need to keep this in mind, for a society that needs what individuals with Down syndrome, their gifts, brings to them. One of the most fearful things for families right in the beginning is how the world will value and treat someone with Down syndrome and how they'll be treated. And the truth is, we really can't control that, what people think or what people assume. But we can model, and hopefully organizations help to model and create an environment where a child and siblings grow up valuing the other.
What would you say to a parent just receiving the news that their baby will have Down syndrome?
The first thing we say is congratulations. We say how beautiful this baby is, because truly, and in our office, like, people are oohing and eyeing. Well, you kind of need that oohing and eyeing, because sometimes you're afraid to go to Target, like I was, to see what somebody will notice or what your friends will say. And so I think it's important to have oohs and ahs and congratulations and whistles blown and all that. But I think there are certain things that are really key. And I think one of them is a really big vision of where you start dreaming of what you want for this child. And you create that vision as you go along. But I think you need to have a big vision, because if you don't, with every roadblock that comes, that big vision, you keep pointing back to it and you say, this is where I'm headed. Does this match? Second, everyone will tell you what they know about Down syndrome: school teachers, administrators, doctors. And I promise you, they don't all have the right information.
My doctor was very, she had a very bad outlook on Down syndrome. She was very discriminatory in the information she provided for me. And it was scary. She painted a very bleak picture of what would happen in my marriage, what would happen with quality of life. She made predictions about, how he would become when he hit puberty. And there's this horrible bucket list of awfulness, which I know is commonplace and it happens a lot, and it's a shame. But I wish that I had been told, about the research study that's out there, right? That shows how Dr. Scotko did this study about family members and how they were impacted by the diagnosis. And they individualed, I think, a couple thousand people with Down syndrome, and found that like 90% were positively impacted, and it improved their marriage. Siblings were very proud and very proud. And the people with Down syndrome had a sense of purpose and were pleased with their lives. I wish I had known that, my son my son, without Down syndrome, I have 2 boys. Samuel is the one who does not have Down syndrome. And my first thought was that his life is ruined when I found out my other son, Paul, had Down syndrome. And I wish I'd known back then that actually this would help him to become the boy I always prayed that he would be: compassionate, empathetic, caring, genuine. That's what having a brother with Down syndrome has made him. I also, I heard when I was pregnant a lot, it's going to make you such a stronger person. You're going to become this advocate, and you're going to be, and it scared me because I was like, what's going to happen to me that I'm going to become this strong advocate? It made me nervous. And I wish somebody had said, it's not going to be a quick change that's going to be dramatic and traumatic. It's going to be something that happens in very teeny tiny steps that's very manageable and will actually bring excitement and adventure to your life.
What do parents need in order to give their children with Down syndrome the best chance in life?
There are things that we need as parents, period, right? We need love, we need patience, we need to be accepting. But I think, there's a little piece more when it comes to having a child that has a disability. So, we need to have belief in their abilities, and we need to presume competence that they can do it. We have to check ourselves.
I think there's a mindset that they are important in this world and belong, and that they can do amazing and hard things. And the mindset is, my job is to cheer them on. My job is to figure out what they're good at.
I think also as parents in general, again, we tend to be guilt-ridden, right? Like, did I do this right? Did I do that right? And you put in a child with a disability with like Down syndrome, and you multiply that by 100 times. And that does no good for you or for your child. And it is negativity, right? It doesn't help at all. So I say we need to, when those thoughts creep in, and I'm talking to myself here too, we need to throw them right out the window. We need to take care of ourselves as parents. I think also when we have a child with a disability, we really put ourselves on the back burner, and we are not doing anything for our children if we're not showing up 100% for ourselves.